Okay, cool. Let me talk to Aiden so that way he doesn't.
Yeah, you got it. Oh, hey, doing the,
If you wanna come in, look. If you wanna chill, you don't have, you can chill too. Aiden, Lily brought some snacks if you need some snacks, right, dude? Pizza and other stuff.
Dan.
Yeah.
You have like a minute?
I'm about to start a webinar, but like, it can be a quick minute.
Okay, just say hi to Dolores.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dolores, this is Daniel, right here.
Hey, Dolores, how you doing?
My head is spinning.
Okay,
Really like this. So we're gonna go with it.
okay, good. I told Luke that if you guys secure the property, then you and I could talk about a bridge loan. So it'll be, it's a cheaper alternative for you than going through a conventional loan and going through all the processing, underwriting and all that stuff. So it'd be a short term, hopefully no more than 3 months if you guys are able to sell the property on Lakewood, where it's a kind of a win-win all the way across, and it takes some of the friction of you having to do a contingency. Okay.
That'll be fantastic, yeah.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
so we'll work on it. I'm gonna jump on the webinar right now, but I told Luke, as soon as you guys get this property secured, you could come in and we could have a conversation about it and structure it all properly, okay?
Thank you so
All right,
very
okay.
much.
All right, thank you, Dolores. I appreciate it. And then, thank you, Daniel.
All right, no problem.
So, yeah, Dolores.
Hey, Aiden. Got the polls, that's good. All right, good with that.
Ready.
All right, my poll's ready to go too, so. It says reclaim, stay as host, reclaim, stay as co-host, reclaim, I'll do co-host, right? There you go.
As soon as I stream it on Facebook, you can reclaim the house.
Okay,
You know what's weird? I could hear Daniel's conversation through your little red speaker. I don't know how whatever he was saying in his office was transcribing to your little red speaker on your desk right there. So when Did you you're on turn the it phone, you're on the phone with Dolores? Were you on
Yeah.
the phone with? Yeah, okay. And literally, your conversation was coming through that little speaker.
are you serious?
So I was walking around the office, like, where is this coming from? Like the speaker
It's probably Luke's
And then-
speaker.
coming from your little red speaker. How would that happen?
That's on Luke's phone. I don't know. Luke came over here to talk to me on his phone about it.
Yeah, that's really weird. Maybe because it was hooked to my computer. Can you still hear anything off of it, or did you turn it off?
No, we turned it off.
But you can hear me okay, right? Yeah. And I'm gonna look at you right here instead of over here. Look at Sonia all professional with her mic.
Get the hell out.
You have time. I'm like, even here to bother you. I want to
Oh gosh, we have 4 minutes.
want to be like this.
Should we do this?
No, you're not.
I'm just kidding.
Is that okay? With my mic? Do I look like a radio guy?
Yes.
Jeez.
I can do this right here. The whole time I'll be like this.
Do you guys mute yourselves when you're not talking?
Yeah.
can't-
I
Or
do.
no, just,
Eh,
nah, doesn't matter?
Only when you have Eddie come in.
Jeez.
Remember, we're gonna do a countdown. Shan's gonna do a countdown.
Are you gonna mention in the very beginning, like if anybody has any questions, they can put it in the chat?
Yes, so if anybody has, so I have a few questions lined up, but if you have any, pop them in the Q&A down below and we'll get to them.
Where's Andy? Aaron?
It's gonna be us.
This webinar is just for us, yeah.
Just for us. Boo boo. What else we got? I need to get rid of this box here. I need to get rid of this. Quit my email.
It says we're in practice session.
My
Yeah, I
speaker,
think-
am I talking through the thing again? Cynthia?
Yeah.
I think so.
Ah.
Hold on, let me turn off my Bluetooth.
All right, so as soon as the top of the hour starts, Shan, let's start the countdown. It's gonna go a minute after the hour, and then everybody's gonna be off camera.
Okay,
And so, the beginning of the hour, we'll all pop on camera, and then we'll start chatting, okay?
sounds good. You guys can hear me, yeah? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Daniel, what did you say? We're all gonna pop off?
Yeah, we're gonna get off camera. We're just gonna do stop camera like this, and then Shan, whenever we do this, make sure we're not in presenter view. We're just doing share screen so they could just see this screen. And whenever we're all talking, make sure we're in panelist view where we can see everybody.
Got it.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go off camera. I'm gonna turn on my AC a little bit.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, guys.
We are on.
We are ready. All right. Hey, everyone. I am Liz Young from American Financial Network, and I will be your moderator this evening. I wanted to thank each of you for joining us tonight. We have lots of really exciting information that we're going to go over and share with you. I would like to first start by introducing our panel. So we have our AFN loan officers, Cynthia Brackett and Sonia Gutierrez. Hey, ladies. We from the Del Real group at PMZ have the dynamic duo of Daniel and Andy Del Real. What's up, guys? And from the West Experience at PMZ, the one and only Aaron West.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I do have a few questions lined up for tonight, but if you guys have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to pop those in the question and answer down below. We will do our best to answer all of your questions before we're done. So without further ado, let's get started. Since our last webinar in November, can you give us an update on where we are today compared to where we were in November when we had our webinar? Cynthia, can you start us off?
Yes, so I am going to talk a little bit about rates, kind of where they were, what we've dealt with throughout 2022, and now year-to-date 2023. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, I'm going to go. Can everybody see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So this is a rate for these are rates. Look at the volatility. So this is conventional and conforming and FHA 30-year rates from April of last year to today. And just look at how volatile. If we look at even just 2 years ago, this is kind of what rates should really be looking like. But no, within the last year, we started off, in April of last year hitting the 5s. And I remember we were all kind of freaking out. And then, we hit a peak, I want to say November when we had our last webinar, we were in the 7s. And I never thought we'd be in the 7s, but we're in the 7s. And then we had, some relief. We had some rates that dropped down in December. And I remember conventional rates were like high 5s. And we were like, all right, and so we even had like an uptick in applications. And through, December, January, we had activity. People were kind of out and they were ready to take advantage of the market and had some contracts. And then the inflationary numbers came in in March. For February, shelter costs, there was the jobs report that came out, and it caused our rates to spike back up. And I would say, end of March, we were at 6.845. And then we did a little bit of a drop. And now you could just see that this like squiggly line, I would say that in the last couple of weeks, it's gone up, it's gone up, down, it's gone up, it's gone down. So where are we going in the future? And so, per MBS Highway, Barry Habibi saying circle May 10th, because that's when the April inflationary numbers come out, and they really should show that inflation is coming down, which inflation, controls rates. And so he's saying like through the summer, we should start seeing some relief in rates. They should be, coming down at a slower pace, but they'll be coming down. So what does that mean? Like you're going to see a lot of possible buyers come out into the market. You're going to see some cash out refinances because right now you can get, auto loans on average or an $800 or more payment. You've got credit card interest rates at 20% or higher. People are really at their limit, and you're going to see some cash out refinances. But what about the Dream Share? Okay, we had the Dream Share program that literally lasted 8 days. We had an influx of buyers, people wanting to take advantage of it, and it really was disappointed that it went out and was done in 8 days, 300 million. And I just really wish it would come back. And so because there was a lot of, I feel like, buyers that couldn't afford to buy a home, and it actually made it more affordable for them. And so, I wish people would get off the fence. And so what do you think about that, Sonia? What do you have to say about, buyers out there right now?
Thank you, Cynthia, for that. A lot of good information there. It's definitely been a challenging market, that's for sure. But it's more important, I think, more than ever right now, to just remain focused and positive. Now we ask ourselves, what does that mean, right? Well, let's put our focus and our energy into helping families. At the end of the day, rents has still continued to go up, right? So people still need housing. Yes, rates may not be where we want them to be, but there's always an option to refinance, right later in the future. So I think just staying positive, figuring out when you're working with families, what the family's needs are, work on a budget and a plan to get your needs met. So I think if we focus on that, it's a good way to pay it forward.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Couple of follow-up questions just based on down payment assistance and the Dream Share. Were there any Dream Shares that you guys helped? And if so, what did that look like and how did that make our borrowers feel? And then maybe Sonia, you can enlighten us if there's any other down payment assistance programs that we're utilizing with our borrowers currently.
Yes,
right now-
definitely. Oh,
Sorry. I was gonna say, right now, we have 5 buyers that took advantage of the Dream Share. And when you can save somebody $700 in their payment is definitely ideal. So that's why I love the program and I really wish it would come back. Go ahead, Sonia.
and there are other programs available. We have, for example, the USDA still offers 100% financing, which is great. With down payment assistance programs, there's other ways as well. There's CalHAFA and there's Arrive. It's obviously in case by case scenario and on qualification needs, but reach out to us if you guys want more information. We'd be more than happy to help.
That's awesome. Daniel, Andy, Aaron, what could you give to us as far as insight since our last Catching Falling Knives webinar?
Well, I want to start by saying thanks for AFN and the work that you guys have been able to do. I know a couple of our buyers were able to lock into that Dream Share program or the Dream for All program. So even if you guys did 5 of them, I mean, that's almost, I think it's almost $500,000 that came, into the AFN bars, which was great. And then even the USDA program that has been around for a while, but I think we tend to forget about that some of these rural areas can get 100% financing if you qualify with income and credit score. So last time we did this was November, right? So we're like, okay, well, let's do this again at the end of Q1 of 2023, and let's see how bad it gets, or let's see what happens. And it was kind of risky because you're like, we're just going to report it how it is. It hasn't been an easy market. It's been an extremely challenging market. I think Sonia's right. A lot of it is like you got to figure out if you're in the industry, you got to figure out what your client's pain point is and why it is that they want to purchase a house and help them with it. But let's just go into the numbers. But first, why don't we do this? I'd like to do a quick poll to see, just to get a gauge on who is on this call. So if you're a realtor, if you're a loan officer, if you're in the real estate industry, might be title, escrow, inspectors, or insurance, whatever it might be, or if you're just interested and curious. And then we're just gonna kind of dive into some of the numbers. So let me give it a quick second. Can you guys see the poll?
Yes, we can see it. And I would just add this as well with what Daniel said. It is a really tough market, and everybody's feeling the pain right now. And when you hear Daniel talk, or when you hear us talk as we go through this and we talk about what's been successful and what hasn't, everybody's feeling it right now. And I just think that that's something that a lot of people don't hear, that it's hard, and they just live in their own little world. And when Daniel goes over the numbers here and shows what they are, the market bears that. This is a difficult market to be truly successful in.
Yeah, and as you can see right now, it looks like a majority of people are in real estate industry. So I'm sure you all have the same kind of questions that we have, like, where are we today, and what do we expect? What are we doing to navigate this kind of market with our clients and our team? So let me share my screen, and I'll start with just seeing what we covered initially. So you can see my screen here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So last time, let's start with this chart. Why don't we do this here? So why don't we start with this? So last time we met, it was in November. So we were we were just suffering PTSD of 7% interest rates, right? And we started seeing this pending sale line drop down. As you could see when we were talking about this, we saw the amount of closed properties drop down quite a bit. We saw inventory continue to drop, but we did get a little bit of relief from the interest rate, which is a good thing for our industry. And I think this is, as this rate came down, you gotta realize that if the rate shoots up here, that means that the pending sales for the following month are going to be affected, right? And the sales as well. So it's almost like it's a lagging thing. So as the rate started coming back down, you saw again the lag in the upside of pending sales in an amount of sold transactions as well. So right now you're seeing, if you're feeling like you're a little busier, it's because we are seeing that pending line, pending sales and solds increase. It doesn't mean that we're getting relief from the inventory. And just for some perspective, we won't dive into it. I just want to show you what it looked like in 2007 and 8, right? Like the amount of inventory we have right now is 356 properties between two counties. This is Stanislaus County and San Joaquin County. This is what those two counties look like in 2007 and 2008. Talk about 12,000 properties on the market between both counties. A little bit of a difference, right? Now, transaction-wise, we were at 540 transactions. Yeah, we're half the transaction, but the amount of what it feels like and what it looks like is completely different. This is why, I'm looking at this almost as, I call it like a lose market. Sellers are getting less for their properties. Buyers are paying 20-30% more for their payment. The industry is being affected because the transactions are cut in half. And there's really no winner right now, so it feels a bit more difficult. So that's where the market is right now. Should I go into the median price, and then Aaron and maybe Andy could chime in a little bit on that? Why don't I do that? But before I do that, why don't I do another poll just because they're fun? Let's do this one. Let me get out of this one. All right, let's do a guess, because I'm going to cover some home prices. So this would be the question. So home prices, do you think prices are going to be up or down in 2023 would be the first question. So let's go ahead and answer that one if you can. And then the next one is going to be, how you think the prices fared in 2022. Can you guys see the poll?
Yeah, we could see it.
I'm not seeing anybody answering, so I'm not sure if there's a
So they might have to answer. There's a second untitled question that came up on there, so you guys might have to just pick choice 1 or choice 2. We'll ignore that one.
Okay. All right, there we go. We've got 50% participation, 60, 70. I'll cut it off at 80. There you go, 90. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and end this, and then I'll share it. So here are the, 2023, 69% of the people on this call think that the values will go up. 31% think the properties would go down, and then the rest had no idea, which I get it. I think I'm kind of on that same boat. And then let's do one more. What do you think prices look like in 2022? How do you think prices ended up in 2022? Do you think that they went up? No change, up 1 to 5%, up more than 5%, down 1 to 5%, or down more than 5%.
I'm so nervous waiting for the answer.
I know. Let's see. It's coming. It's at 80%. Now, there we go.
There it
Okay,
goes.
almost 90% participation. So I'm going to end this right now. 93% participation. I'm going to share the results. And here it is. So we have 11% said no change. 41% said up 1 to 5% in 2022. 11% said up more than 5%. 22% said down 1 to 5%, and then 15% said down more than 5%. So let's look to see what that actually was. Let me share my screen again. And I know Andy has a little more data on the median price, but let me jump into the median price. So here you go. Let's look. This is Stanislaus County. So when we look at the price at the beginning of at the beginning of 2022, we were sitting at about 450. And then it ended up at 420. So there was it was like a 7% decrease in price from the beginning of the year to December. We did see the price peak. We talked about this last time in 2022 in April, and then we started seeing the price come back down. So, you know, prices in 2023, you see that the price started ticking up in the last few months. The price in 2023 is actually up 7.1%. It's down 4.3% in the last 12 months, down 7.2 from this peak number, and down 2.3% from 2021. So if you look at 2022, it's been relatively a pretty flat year. And then going into 2023, we had one month that was the prices came down and you saw them shoot back up. And then San Joaquin County kind of echoes it. You know, you see the last three months, the first quarter of the year, we're up 7% in 2023, up 3.2% month over month, and down 8.45 from the peak number, which they peaked out at about May. We peaked out in April. So that's what the price points look like. But if you look at the price from what it is now at 450 to what it was even 12 months ago being 470, you know, we're not that far off. We're about $20,000 off, which if you think about it, it's less than that 5% price point. And same thing here for Stanislaus County, where you're at 520,000 compared to where it was in the past, which is 550,000. So it's about a $30,000 difference. So so that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. You know, it looks like the first quarter of the year, we've seen prices go up, but we did see what I want to say, it's like a transactional recession. You know, you saw transactions come down. The prices didn't pull back as much as most people thought, you know, when they thought, okay, hey, the market's going to collapse. It bounced down. It was a year of two tails. You know, you went from January through April and May, you saw a 14% increase in price, and then we gave it all back. So the first adjustment of prices was sellers' expectations. You had to bring the sellers' expectations down. And after that, you saw the prices come back down and swing, but we recovered that in 2023. So, you know, my opinion right now is it's just one of those markets that's going to require twice the work, and half the transactions are going around, and you have to really know the fundamental reasons of why you're buying, and really know the pressures on your clients. But that's where we're at from our last webinar in November.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. Andy, do you have anything for us?
I think Daniel pretty much covered a lot of it, you know, kind of showing where the median price is, you know, right now based to where we were last year and comparing it. As you saw in the graph that Daniel shared, we're pretty much where the values were at the end of January last year going into February of last year. The only difference between now and then is interest rates. I mean, what were interest rates back last year at the beginning of the year? They started around 3.125%, and then they started climbing up. And then we saw the market shift, you know, pretty much at the end of April going into May. You know, so the people, those of you consumers or your clients that purchased the house from May last year, they are a bit underwater on their properties. And I'll tell you, I won't say names, but I do have somebody who reached out to me who actually purchased and closed escrow, got keys May of 2022, May of last year. They want to sell, but right now it just doesn't make financial sense for them to sell it because they're technically underwater right now. How long that's going to last, you know, it's tough to say because this market is being so volatile, especially with the interest rates going up and down. So it's just a matter of waiting things out. Best advice I give to everybody is you know, wait it out. Real estate is something that's not going to be a quick investment, you know, 6 months, a year. You know, truly you make your wealth in long term in real estate. So as long as you can wait it out 3 to 5 years, that's going to be ideal for you. So some of the advice that we're giving some of our clients is, you know, really take a look at your life, take a look at where you see your family for the next 3 to 5 years. You know, if you don't see yourself, you know, buying a house and staying in that house for the next 3 to 5 years, it might not be worth it, you know, to get your foot in the door and become a homeowner. But yeah, Daniel's right. You know, the showing what the market has done. I'm going to share my screen a little bit because I did pull some additional data regarding median prices because I was curious to see. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of pull it as far back as going into 2019, right before the pandemic. So I went as far back as going of the pretty much the beginning of March of 2019. These are the median prices in Stanislaus County. Back then we were at about 320, give or take a little bit. And this is where we're at right now, sitting around 450, as Daniel talked about as well. If you notice, started seeing major increases pretty much at the start of 2020 when the pandemic was pretty much just coming out. And what happened around that time is inventories dropped down at that time. So when you had inventory levels drop and interest rates dropping down from the 5% all the way down to 3s, I think we even saw 2.99%, that created havoc. You know, and that's why we saw, if you notice on this screen over here, you know, increases a year after year of almost 17% year after year from 2020, 2021. And then we kind of cooled off a little bit going into 2022. And then we saw the shift in the market as well too. Personally, I think we can get used to seeing $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 price points throughout the entire Central Valley. I think that's going to be the new normal for us. We are seeing a lot of buyers entering the market again. It's the springtime. It's the time that we see a lot of families make the move, especially as kids are getting ready to get out of school. It's easier logistically for families to make their move. You know, so, and a lot of buyers are realizing the interest rates are pretty much here to stay. If you think about it, we peaked at 7.125% right before we did our last state of the market. Right now, we're sitting right around a 6.5%. So we came down 0.5 percentage point. You know, but for the most part, they've been pretty much in the 6s. You know, will they come down? I mean, everybody, you know, could throw their guess out there. I do personally see, I agree. I do think that we are going to see them come down, and kind of like Cynthia and Sonia said earlier, when the interest rates come down into the 5s, if they do indeed come into the 5s, which I do believe, we're likely going to see, you know, buyers that purchased in the last year refinancing. And at the same time, a lot more buyers getting back into the marketplace because now they have more purchasing power.
We're gonna find out what the audience thinks because
Yes, this will be a
we
good
just
one.
put
to
a
find
poll up, so we got 46% of them in, 50. Let me see, 56%, 60. Here we go. We got a couple more people left. 66%, 70% in, 73. I'll stop it at 90, 80, 83. Yeah, a couple more people. 86. All right, there you go. I'll stop it right here. 90. There you go. 90. Okay, so here is the results. So, you know, there's a lot of people in the industry here, and I think the majority of people are thinking that the rate is going to be that 5.5 to 5% rate. So, but I would love to get everybody else's thoughts on that.
Being positive, that's the key. There's always opportunity. If, you know, they don't come down, eventually what goes up must come down, I think. So it's my motto.
Yeah,
What do you guys think?
I definitely agree that rates are gonna be on their way down. I know that Cynthia, she's gonna say May 10th.
Hey, I am, yes. I am.
Barry Habib in his crystal ball.
Yep.
You know, the reality is that rates are artificially high because of the uncertainty still. And as soon as there's some kind of certainty to what the Fed is going to do and what the economy is doing, then that allows the lenders and the banks to come back into some more normal margins. Because right now, it's a little bit hard to explain, but the margins between what the 10-year bond is and what interest rates are abnormally high because there's a high amount of risk for the lenders. And so they have a bigger margin in there. And as soon, and May 10th is kind of Barry Habib's number, because if that unemployment rate comes down and if those the inflation rate comes down because of the unemployment, or the unemployment rate goes up, actually, they're looking for it to go up, and the inflation rate comes down a little bit, then what that's going to do is it's going to give banks some certainty. And as soon as they have certainty, then they're going to feel comfortable going back to the margins, which would put us in that 5.5% range. It may take longer than May 10th for us to see that, but statistically and traditionally, with what a normal margin is, we should be in that 5 to 5.5% range. So with what Cynthia said, it's just common sense. Unless there's an anomaly that happens that changes that, we should be heading back into a normal spread from what the 10-year bond is, which is traditionally where you see where it should be.
And you echo that too, Cynthia? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, every month, I mean, I listen to Barry every single day, and he is still set on those April numbers coming in on May 10th, and that it will be favorable to lowering inflation, or it's going to be the start. He's not saying that it's going to drop immediately. It's going to take some time, but it will be the start of, inflation starting to come down, which, inflation controls rates. And so I'm just kind of waiting to see and excited to see that happen, because I do feel like there's a lot of people that will take advantage of like refinances. They'll take advantage of buying, and I think it'll spur the market a little bit.
Yeah.
Then we're just going to have an inventory problem.
I think Rosalia said it right. I think the inventory problem might be a solution with rates. I think we're seeing so many sellers strike. They're like, look, I'm willing to sell my house. I need to sell my house. I need to either move up, move down, sideways, whatever it might be. But they're sitting on record low rates, and they just really don't. It changes everything when you're getting quoted a 7% interest rate or 6.5%. And then you're also getting slightly less for your property. So, if the rates do come down, it gives us an opportunity to hopefully lift that seller strike and start seeing the amount of listings go up. What's really interesting though is if you look at the transaction counts, they are low, right? So even if on the average our county's transaction counts were here, let me share it just for the heck of it. I'd like to get everybody's thoughts on this too. So if you look at, this is the amount of solds that we've seen between both counties every single month, and you see the average about 1,100. And yeah, you get the seasons where it drops down to 800, 800, 700 sales, right? And then you'll see them. But here is what we mean by a transactional recession, right? So as you're going 1,100 transactions, and now you see it drop down, that's what our industry is feeling. Right. I mean, you're still transacting, but even if you look back, say 2018, you look at those 1,100 almost numbers, and you see the seasonality of transactions dropping down to 680. And then you see, like, even go back to 2016, you'll see the confirmation again. You always saw transactions happening, and you always saw the season pull back slightly, and it shot back up to about 1,100. Even if I go back to 2014, right, go back to 2013. Right, those transactions were there. Right now, what you're seeing is that transactional recession between both counties. You're seeing this number right here was 406. That was an incredibly difficult January. Whoever was in the industry had a very difficult January. But the one thing that I want to note is, yeah, even though we're probably seeing 20 to 30% less transactions, the transactions are still happening. Right, you might see not a lot of inventory like you haven't seen in a while, but even when we had agents complaining about the market because there was no inventory here, right? There is no inventory, but transactional were very steady. Like the transactions were pretty steady, right? So it's like a duck in the water, right? It might be really calm, but in the bottom, they're flapping around. So it is a more challenging market. I think you'd be foolish to say that you're not working twice as hard for half of the transactions. And it is 100%, I feel, more of a transactional recession because of the seller strike and the squeeze of buyers' affordability. I don't think the demand is low. I don't know about your team, Aaron, but I know our demand, like we have a ton of buyers that want to buy. they're handcuffed because affordability was taken away because the rate shooting up as much. And as much as people want to talk about the median price, I get it. Like, hey, everybody wants to look at this median price point. But how many of your clients actually buy on median price, or how many do they buy on monthly obligation, right?
Yeah, it's
So that's-
always payment. And this is really the first time since 81 where the government has stepped in to put pressure on the real estate industry. We are the easiest ones to slow down or speed up to speed up the economy, because real estate is 15% of the economy. And when they want to slow the economy down, they raise interest rates, which stops people from buying and gives us this transactionary recession that we are experiencing right now. And, you know, Daniel said you work twice as hard for the same amount. And I believe you work twice as hard, and you are probably going to do a little bit less than you did, because there are so many fewer transactions out there with a larger number of real estate agents than we've ever had in history in our market. And until the real estate industry starts to find some balance as far as the number of agents that are out there working, it is going to be a market that you just have to understand that 2 times the work doesn't equal the same results. 2 times the work equals survival. And I think you've been saying that to your team, and I've been saying that to my team a lot too, is that, you know, this is a survival market for real estate agents, and you have to work like you're in survival mode. Because if you don't,
let me pause you right there, Aaron, because I think you hit
Yeah.
something so good. So for us, it comes out very naturally. Like Aaron, I'm like, we see your team intimately. Like you're right from one building away from us, right? And we talk, you know, we share information. And if you're in this market right now and you're still doing the same thing you were doing 2 to 3 years ago, 4 years ago, then you're 2 steps behind. If you're showing
even last summer, if you're doing the same thing you were doing last summer, you're 2 steps behind.
100%. And you have to, and it's reality, like you have to increase the effort. You have to, right now, you have to reward the effort. You almost have to release the end result, right? And use it where you're double the failure to refine your skill set, your knowledge of the market, and set realistic expectations that you're going to have to do twice the work right now.
And you know, one of my really good friends from back east, who has a really good real estate team, he would always tell new agents, in real estate, nothing is given, everything is earned. But the market that we were in for the last 7 or 8 years, there wasn't really a whole lot of earning. It was just given. If you showed up and you did really any kind of activity at all, you were rewarded for it. And now we've really transitioned to where it's not just earned, but it's earned with blood, because there is nothing given in this market at all. And you know what Daniel said is very true. You have to revisit everything that you're doing. If you are a real estate agent and you're struggling right now, you have to revisit everything you are doing to give yourself a chance for success, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And we're in a market where a different result is that you're not selling any real estate. And so you can't do the same thing over and over again. You have to find what the new normal is for you and whatever your goals are as a real estate agent, and then figure out what those activities are. Daniel said something right before that too, where he said, fall in love with the activities. And I know that for, you know, Danny and Andy, I almost said Andrea, Daniel's wife is Andrea, Daniel and Andy. One of the things that we are talking about with our team right now is that you can't control the number of transactions you can do. You can only control the controllables, and that's your activities, skills, and relationships. Those are the 3 things that help you be successful in real estate. And in a market, or when you're an agent, if you don't have a lot of activity or you don't have a lot of relationships, and in full disclosure, and to be just very, very pragmatic and blunt, most of us don't have the skills that we need in this market. to be successful because we've never had to use these skills, the negotiation, the psychology, all of those things, which leaves activities, and you earn the skills and the relationships by doing the activities. So you have to be very, very intentional about looking at what you're doing as an agent. If you are an agent or whatever business you're in, look at whatever you're doing as an agent on the activity side, and then probably double it.
Yeah.
This
And
is
dude,
perfect to
Don't be
segue
too
into.
prideful to get feedback too, it's like, I think a lot of it is too pride is, hey, when you're doing twice the work and even myself and Andy and Aaron too, I think you've been in the business for almost 20 years. Andy, you almost 20 years. I mean, between all of us. And I think Cynthia, you two have been in business for a long time. And I know.
Since
Sonia,
Jesus was a baby.
right?
Aaron's probably going to
Here
get
we
some
go.
emails about that comment.
He went there.
This is a perfect segue because my next question to you guys as successful teams in the Central Valley and the state in general is, what are your teams doing to stay successful and to stay ahead of the game? What are some of those activities that you guys are doing that you can share with the people that are on?
Yeah, that's a great one. And I think the guys kind of touched on it a little bit, is brushing up on your skills and your tools, and information overload. It's time to do some research about different programs that are available. Even if you're not in the lending industry and you're an agent, get to know the basic programs that are out there for the first time buyers. Listen to your buyers' needs and wants, and actively listen, and by that, don't try to push them into something that you think they might want. Listen to what they're telling you and actually find that for them as well too. And most importantly, show up. I know right now, kind of like the guys are saying, it's transaction recession. You got to do double the activities. Show up and be ready. Because if you get that phone call, you have to ask yourself, are you ready right now to get in the car and go meet that client and show the property, or go do a listing presentation? Or do you have to go home, do your makeup, do your hair, change your shirt? Because if you have to go home, you're not ready for it. So make sure you're always ready and show up every single day.
When you talk about the skills, have you ever tried to cut through a piece of leather with a butter knife? When it's butter and it's warm butter, it's super easy to cut through. But if you're trying to cut through a piece of leather with a butter knife, it is a ton of work. That's the way most of us and our skills are with this market. We're trying to cut through leather with a butter knife. And when Andy said, brush up on your skills, I know for me personally, and Daniel, we went through the Great Recession. We went through when it was really, really hard. And we're not just brushing up on our skills, we're learning new skills because it's a new market. And I think that as an agent, you have to be super intentional about surrounding yourself with people and finding the people that are winners. And it doesn't have to be in your market. It could be anywhere. You can get on Zillow, look up the top agents and make phone calls and create relationships and find out what they're doing. You have to be really intentional about, like I said before, your activities. You have to have a database. You have to touch that database. I know Daniel will as well, but we want to give you like practical and tactical things that you can do to be successful in this market. And it is really going back to the basics of what does it take to be a successful real estate agent. And that is talking to all the people in your database, picking up the phone, showing up at the office, because I don't know about you, but I can't work from the house and be effective like I am in the office. I think that that's one of the things that really separates both our teams from a lot of other people and teams, is that virtually everybody in our team shows up at the office every single day because they show up. And when you come to the office and you're dressed, you're showing up. And it's way too easy to sit in your underwear and go, I'm going to be making phone calls, but then nothing really happens. And I know because I've done that, and it doesn't work.
I want to see
As
your
much
pants.
as
Right
I-
now. Can I see your pants right now?
Yeah, can you stick up for us, Aaron?
I bet you $50 you're in your shorts, dude.
I think we should put a poll up if people want to see that.
They don't want to see it, but it is true. It is true. I'm on vacation, so I'm like the newscaster right now. So Daniel, what are some practical, and Andy, what are some, if someone came to you and said, give me practical tools, or what can you do to be successful or survive? You know, and again, I think you survive this market, and by surviving this market, you learn how to thrive in the next market. And I know go ahead, Daniel.
No, so I think this market, kind of like I talked to the team at the beginning of the year, I said, I'm like, look, what you do in this market is going to dictate the rest of your life. How you show up to this market is going to dictate the rest of your life. Are you going to ostrich yourself, put your head in the sand? Are you just going to show up and hope you do the same thing over and over again, hope something changes? So, you know, you have, it's like that bird on the branch, right? It doesn't have his ability, it doesn't have his faith on the branch. It has his ability to fly. It has his faith in his ability to fly. Or are you going to lean in? And like Aaron said, it's right. It's like, even in 20 years in my career, I'm learning new skills. Now the principles are the same. Like I'm a measuring dude. Like I get constant feedback all the time, and what I measure, I can improve on. Nothing in my life happens by accident, right? There's a level of luck, because like Andy said, I show up ready for it, and I'm constantly getting feedback and improving on it. But this is that market that you're reading books like Atomic Habits. You're reading books like The Gap and the Gain. You're reading books 2 to 3 times, like Never Split the Difference, right? You're learning how to negotiate. You're learning how to negotiate with yourself, right? And how to make things super measurable. And then not only that, like you really need a group of people that are going to hold you accountable, because I'm telling you, we're such good salespeople. We're constantly going to keep selling ourselves why we're not going to do the things that we need to do to make shit happen. You know, and I said, you know, I said something like to the team that was kind of funny. It's like, look, if you're gonna have to eat a plate of shit, don't nibble on it. Like you got to go to work, and you got to freaking do the work. Like you got to do the work.
And that's a picture that I'd like to see someday, Daniel. Just throwing that out there.
But I'll share something just like as our team for practical and tactical. Like in Aaron, I know there's something that you do, something my team does, something we collaborated together to implement on our teams, is what we measure we can improve on. The goal is for us not, you could say, look, I want to help 40 families, but what kind of activities do you need to have every single day to be an agent that's able to help 40 families, right, in this market, and get constant feedback? And know you're going to have shitty weeks, and you're going to have good weeks, and you're going to have great months and not so great months, but like constantly measuring and getting feedback on the activities, right? Don't just set the goal up. Of course, you got to make it measurable. You got to have it time bound. You got to hold yourself accountable. You got to put yourself in an accountability meeting with another person, so you're 100% honest and you're getting true feedback. Like for our team, like this is as transparent as you could be. This is what our team looks like right now, like on activity wise. Like this is year to date. Like our team is calling. Like we have some people that have done 2,000 calls that are logged. A lot of these are recorded. They're getting feedback on them constantly. They're measuring everything. They're saying, look, I want to help 40 families. Well, that's great. Well, what does it take for you to help 40 families? Is it 1,000 calls a month? Is it 400 calls a month? What's your contact rate? What's your conversion rate at your appointment? How are your dialogues looking like? Because if you can't measure it and hold yourself accountable, then you're just going to drift. So you have to have that accountability, and you have to have that measurement tool.
And I think what's really important too, and that's where one of the reasons that we are constantly working on skills with both of our teams, because you can have one agent that makes 2,000 phone calls and one agent that makes 1,000 phone calls. And the agent that makes 1,000 phone calls, if his skills are better, can do the same amount of business or more than that agent that's making 2,000 phone calls. And that's one of the things that we work with our teams a lot, is understanding the different skill levels of our teams and helping them achieve their goals. You know, if I have one agent that wants to do two agents that wants to do 40, one of them may need to make 4,000 phone calls, and the other one may need to make 2,500 phone calls to both reach 40. And when you are looking for that perspective and that accountability, and if you're not on a team, get a coach. There's some really great coaching out there. Reach out, find some mentors, find successful agents, and ask them what they're doing to survive in this market. And if you reach out to them, if you reach out to Daniel and myself, we will answer those questions for you and give you some perspective. And, like I said before, surround yourself with other people who are on the same journey. real estate agents, you know, we as solo agents live in our bubble of reality. And that's our reality, is whatever bubble that we've created for ourselves. And it's not until you start getting perspective of what other people are doing or what you need to be doing to be successful, do you even necessarily know what those activities are? And that's what's so beautiful about Daniel's team and my team and how we track, is that the agents are able to get perspective on where they're succeeding and where they need to improve. And our agents we're all focused on the activities and learning to love the activities, like I said, because we can't control the results.
Now, I'm just going to add a little bit on that as well, too, because you guys covered a lot of tactical and practical, which is awesome. There's a lot of nuggets there. So if you guys weren't paying attention, you guys are missing out on some precious gold that these guys just dropped. Another thing is, you know, kind of like Aaron had mentioned earlier, you know, anybody who has sold real estate in the last 5 years really didn't have to earn it. Right. So now that you're having to earn it and you're having to do way more activities, and now you're really earning it, you're bleeding for it, get your budgets in order. You know, I can't emphasize enough how many times I saw agents, loan officers in the last several years spending the money before they even had it. You know, and now you guys are, you know, some people are struggling to just pay Uncle Sam his due. You know, Uncle Sam's going to want his portion of it, you know, so get your budgets in order, you know, especially if you want to get into coaching, you want to get mentoring, make sure you can financially afford that, and you're not going to get yourself into a ton of credit card debt by doing that as well too. So get your budgets in line, really, you know, figure out what you need to survive, and start paying yourself a salary, you know, if you can get to that point, because once you do there and you disconnect yourself from the commission side of things, your clients are going to pick up on that. And you're gonna see their guard coming down even more as well too, because they're gonna feel comfortable with you, that you're not just pushing them and selling them every single house, because that's realistically, in my eyes, that's not our jobs. We're here to assist people make the biggest financial decision possibly in their lifetime. You know, so you need to be there, you need to coach them through it, you need to be their mentor, you need to be their biggest cheerleader, you need to remind them of the roller coaster of emotions that they're gonna go to. Because I think everybody on this call, and you know, if you've bought in a house before, you've gone through that roller coaster of emotion. So anytime you could relay that information, especially to a first-time home buyer, you're going to save yourself a lot of trouble, and you're going to save them a lot of headache, because they're going to be questioning, is this the right house for me? You know, should I keep looking? You know, should I, you know, am I done? Should I stop completely looking? Is this, you know, am I making the wrong choice? Is this house going to nickel and dime me for years to come? All perfectly normal emotions to go through, because we're humans. You know, that's our protective instincts kind of come in it. So big piece of advice that I could do, because the guys already gave you a lot of tactical, practical, is get your budgets in line, and also track your activities, you know, and even follow that up with, you know, finding out where that lead came from, whether was it an online social media, was it somebody that referred to you. Track it and make a note of it. If somebody referred you, reach out to the person that referred you and thank them. And don't forget your past clients, because trust me, they will forget your names within the first 12 months if you're not staying in communication with them.
Yeah, that's
Good information.
That's
Yeah,
really
Good
good.
information.
Well, that concludes my questions. I was wondering if anybody is on who has a question for any one of us. We would love to take those questions. If not, we will sign off, and hopefully we will continue these. When I say once every quarter, ladies.
You know, I will say one thing real fast, and that is, it feels and seems overwhelming what Daniel and myself and Andy were talking about doing as a real estate agent. And it's really not. It's how do you eat an elephant is one bite at a time. If you are an agent who is willing to work, that wants to learn, and that wants to survive and thrive in this market, reach out to me or Daniel. We are looking for, I am looking for agents to be on the new agents on the team. We're looking for a couple of agents that want to be successful. Being on this call shows that you are interested and want to be successful. And it's not as hard as you think it is. It's actually really simple because when you have a plan, all you have to do is execute. It's really easy to get overwhelmed with all the things that you have to do. But if it just becomes something, it's like running a marathon is actually really easy if you have a plan to get to that 26.2 miles. If you don't, then it's a cluster of really not knowing what to do. So I would encourage everybody to, and if you're don't want to be on a team, that's fine. Reach out to Daniel and I. We will have a conversation with you and see where you're at and see if we can help you with wherever you are. But find a plan so that you can just execute would be the last piece of advice that I would give, is try and take yourself out of the equation as much as possible.
There is a question in the chat,
Yeah,
and the
so
question is best way to generate listings with this low inventory, from Jason. You guys have an answer for that?
I mean, there's so many different things that you could do. Social media, you know, getting yourself a lot of content on social media and following up with people. You could do online. There's so many different platforms. You just got to be careful. Anything you do, though, just be consistent with it and make sure you do it consistently for 3-6 months, if not more. You know, and make sure you have a budget in place for that.
The fastest way to get a listing is to pick up the freaking phone and ask for it. Call everybody in your database and say, I am looking for listings. If you come across anybody who is thinking about selling or buying, but I'm really trying to look for sellers right now because there's such an inventory shortage, please reach out to me and make an introduction. I would love the opportunity to make you look like a hero. If you make that call over and over and over and over and over again, it becomes a numbers game. Someone you know is either looking to sell or knows someone who's looking to sell. And if you don't ask for it, you're never going to get it.
Yeah, I think past clients, if you don't have a database, you have to get your database together. You have to call your past clients. I mean, most of the sales I did was in that 9, 10, 11, 12 market. I mean, it was, the average price was 110,000. Fortunately, I had a database. My business is relationship based, and our business is 50+% referral business, and we move almost 500 units a year. So that's 100%. Aaron's 100% right. Like, you have to, number one, get your database together. You got to reach out to your past clients. You got to look up some of the expired properties, some of the people that retired, right? If you have to sign up for Vulcan, sign up for Vulcan and make calls. You know, look at the MLS and see that. I started this business at 22. I had no sphere. And I remember an agent that was doing a lot of open houses. I'm like, dude, how many closings, how many open houses are you doing? One a month. I'm like, great, awesome. And I was like, and how many deals did you get out of that? He's like, I got 2 deals out of it. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'll do the numbers. I'm like, so if I do 2 of them, like 2 of them a Saturday and 1 on Sunday, I'm doing 3 a week. I'll be able to do 12. And then if I do 12 times the effort, or, you know, or whatever amount over that, I should be able to have more exposure to people. And it's funny that I would be at an open house and then somebody would want to list a property, right? So things like that just happen. So you have to position yourself by doing the work to get lucky, right? So it's picking up the phone, it's getting in front of people. It's a contact game, 100% a contact game. And you just have to know, those numbers. You got to know how many people do I have to be in front of in order to have a potential to close or help 20 to 30 to 40 families, whatever your goal might be.
So we did have one more question from Carlos. And this kind of ties into, I know that we had some advice that was given by each of you. So Cynthia and Sonia, if you'd like to pop in as well. But what is one thing you would recommend agents focus on to have a successful 2023?
If they don't have it, oh, go ahead.
No, I would say you have to keep in front of your database. I feel like it's super important, but I feel social media. You have to get out and get yourself on social media so people know who you are and what you're about. How are they going to know that if they don't see you? Do you know that if you post on Reels, it is shown to multiple different people? You could have somebody next to you post the same reel and it will be sent to the completely different people than where your reel is sent out to. So I just feel like get on social media, get out there and educate people. They're looking for that stuff. That's my 2 cents.
I would say that if you are an agent who's struggling, what Daniel said about open houses, you should be doing 3 or 4 open houses every weekend. That is the easiest way to get in front of people who are looking to buy or sell, is for you to be doing open houses consistently. If you really want to be successful in this market and you're struggling, you should be doing 3 or 4 open houses every weekend.
Yeah, I would say the one, if I just had to pick one thing, like just one thing,
Just one.
it would start right here. Like, what are you reading? What are you putting in your head? Because
Yeah.
without this, it doesn't matter what you want to do. Like, if you lost here, just forget about it. Cash the check, just walk away. So I would say, you know, your mindset and what you're reading, what you're absorbing is the one thing I would focus on.
Is there a book that you can recommend to someone?
I've
Maybe
read-
top 3?
I've read this book a ton of times, especially right now, Atomic Habits.
For sure. Yeah, that's one of the best books
great book.
for putting yourself in a place to create habits, to create success. Andy, what's your one thing?
Well, the one book that I would recommend, I like the book Shift by Gary Keller. That was a great book to read. I'll give one more as well, because that's been one of my favorites from years ago, is The 4 Agreements. It's another powerful, impactful book as well too. In regards to one piece of advice that I would give you is, you know, kind of echoing what Daniel said, just prepare yourself, be ready for the following day. So plan out your day the night before, you know, and know what you're going to be doing, and be proactive versus being reactive with the day.
Perfect. Sonia, do you have anything that you'd like to?
Yeah, I think if there's any buyers and families out there listening, one thing that I would do is just, you know, be prepared. You know, if you don't have a lender, reach out, get some information to one of our local agents. Just be prepared and get yourself in position. If the time does come, you're ready to go and you're not starting from scratch. So I think it is important to have a plan, especially in this market.
I agree. Absolutely agree. All right. Well, I don't think that we have any other questions out there. So I just want to thank everyone. This has been fun, and we enjoy putting this information out there. If there's anything that you would like to see or hear from us in future, I'm just going to pop up our, let's see, our information here, and you could take a photo of that. Contact us if you have anything that you'd like to go over, any questions that you may have, and we would be happy to help.
Thank you guys for putting this together, and thank you guys for asking us to be a part of it. It's been fun, and if you guys do this again in the next quarter, I'd be happy to jump on and report what we're seeing and what our team's doing. So
we would love that.
Agreed. Thank you so much for having us, and really appreciate your time and all the hard work that you put into this.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 You guys.